So savings, why is it so important? Obvious reasons, in life, things happen. And sometimes they're not good things. They're like emergencies. So with this said, you really want to have some type of emergency fund, some type of money saved up that you can count on to really basically be able to, one, protect yourself if a tragedy happened and then you're not coming out on just using your cash, especially if you need that cash for something else like bills or just anything that's also important, as well as that emergency that just happened. Okay. Savings also, obviously, if you're traveling or you want to like go out on anything, you can save in any form. Honestly, it doesn't have to be for emergency fund, obviously, but that's the biggest one. And I would like to say the most important. That's why I'm very big on, definitely try to build up your emergency fund. Okay. But before I get into my tips and tricks for that, I just wanted to go over that. Okay. So with that said, that's why savings is important. But the other thing is the tips that I've learned. So personally at my church, we do a 10-10-80 rule, which is 10% of your income goes to God through like tithes and financing and whatnot. Not financing, and offering. So that's what I do. And then I have another 10% that goes to myself, which I personally put as my emergency fund. So my future self, if there was something that was not my future self in the retirement sense, but if my future self needed a bailout money, that's what that would be. Okay. So I started building up my emergency fund with that every paycheck. And then last but not least is the 80% that would be for all the bills that you can possibly have when it comes to like rent, car notes, loans, you got to pay back, all that great stuff. So that's what I do. The foundation of that really is biblical. If you are religious, maybe check it out. Definitely all the things I give to you guys as tips. Definitely feel free to try them out. See if you like it. If you don't like it, you can try other ones. There's not just one way to save. There's obviously, everyone's different and everyone can't sometimes do the 10-10-80. It took me a while to get to a point to actually dedicate 10% of my check to this, as well as another 10%. I was like, okay, I gotta adjust my bills. I gotta make sure I'm living as a not luxury sometimes when it comes to some bills. So with this said, everything's an adjustment. Okay. The other rule that's really popular if you don't do the 10-10-80 is the 50-20-30 rule. 50% is like your essentials, all the things I just said with the rent, car note, all this stuff. You dedicate 50%. So that's half of your check. And then 20% is for savings. So unlike what I said before, 20% is just going straight to your savings. I think that's great too because it can multiply, you getting more every paycheck if you obviously do 20% versus me doing like 10%. But obviously this is totally about your budget and if you can even afford to do that, because everyone can't when they sometimes are just starting out. But it's something that you can work towards. Everything here is a work in progress. I really tell my clients, don't, discourage yourself when you feel like, oh, I can't do this right now. That's fine. You adjust. Maybe you didn't even know that you were spending 150% of your income because you didn't even know that how much you were shelling out in a month. You know what I'm saying? So there's certain things that, you have to give yourself grace and patience with. Okay. The other tip, or another method, those are two rules I follow. Those are two rules I follow, either 80-10-10 or the 50-20-30. You know what? I'm sorry. I didn't explain the 30. The 30 for that rule is discretionary money. So that's where obviously you would put into like your expenses of maybe traveling, anything that's not bill related. That's where you would put that money. And, that's up to you what discretionary is. If you have certain things that you are working towards and you like to do travel, shop, that's where that would go into. Okay. So those are my two tips that I say if you want to try savings and making sure it's a certain way, try those two methods. It's a great way to keep you straight and keep you into a type of format as you try to grow and get better with savings. Okay. Some apps that I've used, and this is where the tricks come in. Some people are really big on, I was a very, old school kind of person with an Excel sheet, wrote out all my bills, wrote out everything. And I said, this is how much I can save because this is how much I can afford. If you're like me, great. Take out a pen and paper. Or if you're not like me and you like technology, which is totally fine, there's some great apps that I've used that I've done reviews also on my YouTube channel. So if you want to hear more about those out and go way more in depth with some of those, you can check that out. So with that said, Digit is my number one fave. I would say that when I first started out, Digit was a really great, it's really popular now, but when it first started out, it wasn't as big. But Digit basically, is an algorithm based kind of app that watches your spending habits. So with that said, they're watching how you spend your money from day to day, week to week, month to month. And if you have a goal set in there, like say you want to save $1,000 by the end of the year, it will take, based off your algorithm, that amount. Not that amount, excuse me. It can fluctuate because it's based on your spending. So that's a caveat, I would say, a pro and con. It's the pros and cons to everything. But I didn't really like it because sometimes my spending would fluctuate just because I was still figuring out what the heck I'm doing with my money and understanding all the bills I had when I started doing, trying to get on this track of being financially literate and free. So I didn't like that. Sometimes if I was spending a little bit too much, they'll take a bigger chunk because they're like, oh, well, you keep spending all this. But then sometimes I'm like more marginal, more minimalistic living. And then they'll take a little bit. So I didn't like that. So that's why it didn't work for me. But if you've had it and you like it and it's something you like to do, you can comment and totally vouch for it. That's great. I vouch for it too. I just know everything's a trial and error and everything's not going to work for everyone. So just try it out if you want. I believe it is free for the first 100 days, which is great. So that's great enough time to really learn, hey, do I like this? Because it's about 3 months. So, you really can really get a good feel of, hey, does this work for me or what, or does it not? You know what I mean? So the other app that I have listed is Acorns. Acorns is a really cool saving investing app because what it's saving is your leftover change. And leftover change then also gets invested into whatever type of portfolio you already put on that app. There's different types of portfolios out there, so you definitely want to look into that. But Acorns is really cool because if you went to the store and ordered a bag of chips, right, and it was $1.51, right, that 49 cents, it will round up to $2 because that's the next biggest whole number. It'll take it, and then once it takes it, that 49 cents, they're going to invest it for you and have that sitting in the market for you, which is great because it's like, oh, great. I have money that I'm already, personally saving as well as investing. This is a win-win situation. Some people suggest that Acorns is really great for a long-term thing because you're really taking change, obviously. So change is change. It's not $100, at once. So I would say if you're going to look into that, definitely think long-term. It's not something that you want to think, oh, by next month I'll have, $1,000 saved up. It's really hard to do that. So I would walk cautiously with that and definitely look at that a long-term type of deal. The other app I have, which I still use to this day and I really love, is Capital. Capital is QAPITAL. It's an amazing app because it really made me feel like I was saving my money towards my goals, but in a fun, interactive way, which I really liked. I think millennials might like it more because I saw that there was different rules that you could set. There was a rule where if I meet burning an X amount of calories, it takes $5 from my account or something. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. Because I was very competitive with staying in shape and whatnot. So I was like, bet. So I could be saving money while I stay in shape. That's amazing. So I was so into it. And then there's another rule that was about social media. If you're a big social media person, it was if you post, on your Instagram or whatever, every post is X amount of money you take. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that too. Then I realized how much I posted. So I was like, okay, so it takes some of your habits and then try to make savings fun. And I think that's a really cool way to subconsciously not think about saving because you're able to go and just, live your life. And then in the back of your head, that you're saving, which is great. And then last but not least, another app that I forgot to add was Stash. Stash is also a really great app. That's also a investing / saving kind of app, kind of like Acorns. You're not taking the change though. Stash is more so you set an amount or you just tell them what you would like and they're stashing it away for you. And that's why the name is that. So with that said, they're either stashing it into an investment account or maybe stashing it whatever their fund that they're putting into. It can either be invested so it can grow over time, which is great. Again, this is one of those apps you want to keep long term. When you're thinking short term, maybe don't think just go straight into that because you're not going to get as much of return as obviously if you're buying stock or investing in mutual funds or REITs or anything like that. So definitely look into that more if that's what if you're looking for the long term, this is what you would like. If you look for short term, you want higher percentage return, ROI, maybe not the best right now. Okay, so those are my tips. Like I said earlier, with the rules I said, 80, 10, 10, 50, 20, 30. And then, of course, the apps I just listed, which were, again, Digit, Acorns, Capital, and Stash. Okay, great apps. And again, they're all free, except Digit for like the first 100 days. But after that, I think it's like $1.99. It's worth it. I really do believe it's worth it. So the last thing is I don't want to take too much time. I wanted to give you my little, my little antidote, or how I realized what I knew I needed to do with savings, and of course share with you guys my goal. My way was, honestly, when I wanted to save, I was like, well, how much can I save? I didn't know that answer. I can always say, oh, I want to save 10 grand by 2022, and it's like, okay, that could be possible. If anything's possible, really, if you stick to it and discipline yourself to it. But I had to be realistic, because I didn't know how I was going to get that money to do that, because I didn't even see that money. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, it really had to come back to budgeting. Definitely big. That's why on every client session I have, the first session, I'm always like, I give, all my clients, people that know this, you guys already know, you get the budgeting, Adulting with My Budget monthly bills chart. That's very important, because you need to be organized with what you're bringing in versus what you're shelling out, because you won't know how much you can even use to save if you don't even know what that difference is. Okay. Big thing. The other thing is automate your savings. I think that's another great thing. I thought that I could do it. And I was like, oh, I could just put the money in when I see it. Sometimes you could be your own critic, or you could be your own turmoil, because sometimes, you can really be like, oh, okay, well, with that said, I saw the money, something came up, I'm going to just go and do it again next time I get paid, I'll save. When you can already just be used to and train your brain and all that great stuff to be like, I didn't even see the money touch my account, so I'm not even looking at it as an opportunity or anything I can take a part of. So if you know yourself, discipline yourself, know yourself for real, and just automate your savings. There's so many cool ways to do that. Not cool ways. It's so easy to do that. So just do it, right? The last thing is building an emergency fund. That's what I started with. Like I said, that's the whole point why we're even talking about this, is that I think my rule of thumb for me is I built up my savings to $1,000. I think that's a really great goal to set, because some people don't have it. At the average millennial, or excuse me, let me not butcher this statistic. I want to say it's like, it's a really big percentage. Okay, I will have to Google this. But either way, it's a huge percentage of Americans to this day that do not have or can afford an $1,000, which is really an average emergency bill. And that's sad. So with that said, I'm like, if you can get yourself to 1,000, that's a great milestone. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that looks like. If it's, $50 per paycheck, that's your journey, do it. And, if it's less than that, that's your journey, do it. If it's more than that, great. Whatever the case may be, just stick to your path, because that $1,000 will save you an end. If emergency happens, God forbid, you have that and you're not coming off your liquidity. Okay. So with that said, I always start there. Okay. And then, after that, for me, I kept it around $1,000, and actually, I think I have a little bit more now, because I have 2 savings accounts. But with that said, I started, this kind of transition to my financial goal. I really want to pay off my debt, because I also am very big on obviously saving, but also paying off the debt. So with that said, one of my big paying off debt goals is to, eliminate my consumer credit cards. So right now it's about 7,000, I want to say, that I have in credit card debt. And so with that said, I'm doing a snowball effect that I really learned and loved from Dave Ramsey, if you're familiar with him. And he's a great financial educator. I've urge you guys all to check him out. I taught and facilitated a Financial Peace University class. It was amazing. It was the best 9 weeks of my life. I learned so much more of how I want to do my finances, and I'm definitely incorporating with some of my clients when the time is right, when we discuss their certain goals. So with that said, I'm kind of following his rule of like doing a snowball effect, just throwing money at the highest debt, and then just letting it fall down. And so that's what I'm doing. And by this year, if it all goes well and I keep it up, I will be, 7,000 to 8,000 less in debt than I am now. So, and that'll be my consumer credit card. So that's omitting student loans and car notes, stuff like that. But my consumer debt was really my biggest, devil that I had to handle. So that's what I wanted to handle first. So, so that's basically what I have. And I just want to give you guys those little tips and tricks about savings, because I really get a lot of feedback, about, oh, how do I save? What do you think? What's the best, method? And I'm like, oh yeah, like this is what you should do. So I was like, let's just talk about it on live and then record this so that everyone else can see it and you guys can have this as a replay,